Good morning, dear partners. Hello. Good morning, dear partners.
Good morning.
Good morning, dear participants. Today we hold the third workshop within the Mo.Na project in the topic the sustainable use and creative coexistence between natural and cultural heritage, the experience of Nessebar. Our seminar will be online, a COVID situation, I would like to present you welcome address to Mr. Nikolai Dimitrov, the mayor of Municipality of Nessebar.
Добро утро на всички участници в международния уебинар в рамките на проект Паметници в природата. Креативно съжителство. Финансиран по програма Балкани, Средиземно море 2014-2020 година, в който община Несебър участва като пълноправен партньор заедно с Европейски център за византийски и следвизантийски паметници на културата Гърция, Министерство на културата и спорта в Гърция, община Тира, остров Санторини, Гърция, Гръцки център за морски изследвания, Кипърското общество за изследвания, Министерство за развитие на селските райони, горите и екологията в Кипър, Институт за културни паметници Гани с Крацимири, Албания и Вселенската патриаршия като наблюдаващ партньор. Изминаха вече 2 години от началото на проекта, като през този период община Несебър осъществи редица дейности, предимно за популяризиране на природното и културно наследство на Несебър. Изготвен беше и разпространен интерактивен пътеводител на града. Разработваме съвместен бранд с останалите партньори. Картирано е и местообитанието на видовете в акваторията на Несебър чрез подводни проучвания. Представяме нашия опит в управлението на град под егидата на ЮНЕСКО в международните семинари по проекта. На финала сме и на нашия пилотен проект Реконструкция на уличната и тротуарна настилка, възстановяването на автентичния облик на улица Мена и Рибарска, представляващи пореден етап от туристическия маршрут Духовен път на територията на старинен град Несеба. Участието ни в международните инициативи, свързани с опазването, промотирането и валоризацията на културното наследство на нашия необикновен град е не само работа, но и предизвикателство и много отговорна мисия. И накрая пожелавам ползотворна работа на всички участници. Благодаря.
And now I want to give a floor of Professor Natalia Poulou, chairman of the board of the European Center for Byzantine and Post-Byzantine Monuments and leader of Mo.Na project.
Thank you very much. Good morning, dear colleagues, dear friends. Good morning. I would like to welcome you all in the Nessebar workshop entitled The Sustainable Use and Creative Coexistence Between Natural and Cultural Heritage, the Experience of Nessebar, in the framework of Mo.Na project. As you know all, the Mo.Na project implemented within the framework of Interreg 5 Balkan Mediterranean 2014-2020 is co-funded by the European Union and the national funds of participating countries. The project aims to record, analyze, assess, and contribute towards the protection and promotion of natural resources and cultural heritage across the Balkan Mediterranean territory. The Mo.Na project is implemented by official bodies related to cultural management, to environmental management, and local government and administration from 4 countries: Greece, Bulgaria, Cyprus, and Albania. The European Center for Byzantine and Post-Byzantine Monuments is the leader partner who conceived, drafted, and submitted the Mo.Na project. You know all very well all the members who participate in this project under and with the support of ecumenical patriarchate. So in Bulgaria, the municipality of Nessebar is one of the 10 partners contributing to the implementation of this project, Mo.Na. Nessebar, due to its unique history and high cultural importance, was included in the World Heritage List of UNESCO in 1983. By participating in the Mo.Na project within the framework of the Interreg Balkan Mediterranean program, Nessebar was already organized activities related to the main subject of Mo.Na, reconstruction of the road network, Ribarska Street, Mena Street. The workshop in Nessebar is the third of the 4 technical meetings, workshops that are carried out in the framework of Mo.Na project. The conclusions of all these workshops will be the base of the thematic axis of the International Conference in Athens on July 2021. Dear colleagues, dear friends, I would like to wish you every success to the workshop. Thank you very much.
Or if some of our other partners want to say something to grade the participant, please welcome.
Dear Galina, many greetings from Thessaloniki as well. All of you. Today with us we have Mr. Ocharidou, who represents the management authority of the Black Sea program, and maybe we could ask her for a small greeting.
Okay, okay. Please, Mr.
So, Mr. Ocharidou,
Mr. Farido, please.
hear us?
Welcome.
Okay. She probably is not able to do this at this moment, so maybe you can proceed with the rest.
Okay.
Okay, okay. We'll proceed to the rest. Okay, we can move now to the main part of our webinar. I want to present you Dr. Eftelpa Stoicheva. She is the part of project team. She is going to open the first session. She was born and raised in Nessebar, received her doctorate from the University of Athena as a long-term curator archaeologist at the City History Museum in Nessebar. She participated in archaeological research both on the peninsula and underwater. The arrangement of the historical puzzle Mesambria, Nessebar is her destiny. Please, Dr. Stajček.
Thank you. The Mo.Na team from European Center for Byzantine and Post-Byzantine Monuments. Dear partners, we highly appreciate the opportunity to work together in this humanitarian mission. There is a reason for this. I will refer to a thought from the philosophical work 6 Days I Exaimeros Demiurgia by John Exarch of Bulgaria, 10th century. It reads, "The sea connects everything distant." Yes, the sea connects us over the millennia until the present day. In support of this is our partnership in the European project Mo.Na Monuments in Nature, Creative Coexistence. Our town is the very epitome of the theme, a unique natural phenomenon with a rich cultural heritage from the past historical epochs. The city of Nessebar, the antique Mesambria, the medieval Mesembria, is situated on a small rocky peninsula on the western Euxinus Pontus, or Black Sea, coast in the northern part of the Burgas Bay. Today, the peninsula measures 850 meters in length and 350 meters in width. It is connected to the continent by means of a narrow isthmus about 400 meters long. Nasseba is the only Bulgarian city on the list of the World Cultural Heritage of UNESCO. It is also among the founders of the Organization of World Heritage Cities. The oldest period of the city's existence is the Thracian period, with the fortification, the city gate located above the northern harbor with the base stones. It is dated to the 12th century BC. The harbors, the two natural harbors, there many ships cast anchor. The famous thalassocracy and the local Thracians called Nipsei and Skirmiadi. The classical and Hellenistic polis city-state is very rich with the fortifications, harbors, streets, squares, temples, as well as the government, trade relations, coinage, and epigraphy. The transformation of Thracian Mesambria into a classical and Hellenistic polis is an important historical process relating to the cohabitation between Thracians and Greeks. In the Roman period, the city changed its name to Mesembria. The early Christian Mesembria, with the building of a new fortification system, its water supply system and the thermi, and as an episcopal center with its basilicas, resembled a miniature Constantinople. The history of the city in the Middle Ages is marked by numerous events connected to the establishment of the Bulgarian state and its relations to the Byzantine Empire. The western fortification wall, both harbors, as well as many churches with rich architectural and keramoplastic decoration, are among the best preserved monuments from this period. The city's decline takes place during the Ottoman rule. Nevertheless, Several new churches were built on top of the ruins of old ones during that period. Numerous wooden houses of the Black Sea type of a Balkan house and windmills have been preserved until the present day from the revival period. The rich cultural heritage of the old town of Nessebar was included in the World Heritage List in 1983. The rich cultural heritage of this small piece of land is a window to the past and a gift to those who can touch it and feel its magnificence. Therefore, we are happy to present our city to you today, even though online. Welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Stoicheva.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And now it's time for the first topic, which will be presented by Dr. Naiden Prahov. He is Director of the National Center for Underwater Archaeology, Ministry of Culture, Assistant Professor at the National Archaeological Institute with Museum, Bulgarian Academy of Science, founder and head of the Advisory Board of Balkan Heritage Foundation. Naiden successfully defended his PhD thesis on the topic, Interdisciplinary Methods for Reconstruction of Paleoscapes and Predictive Modeling for Identification of Underwater Archaeological Sites, a part of which is research in collaboration with the Center for Advanced Spatial Technologies to the Digital Institute for Archaeology at the University of Arkansas. So, welcome, Mr. Prahov.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the organizers of this international webinar for the opportunity to present one of the main projects of the Center for Underwater Archaeology, our research of the submerged heritage of Nessebar, ancient Mesoamerica. I prepared a presentation which I will share with you. Just I will ask for confirmation if you see the PowerPoint presentation. Do you see it? My screen.
Yes.
Yes, we can
Okay.
see.
So as we understood from this overview so nicely presented of Dr. Evtelpa Stoicheva, Nessebar inherited very rich cultural heritage as elements from its so impressive history. So we have monuments from all the periods of occupation, which was without interruption from the first occupation of the peninsula. That is from the pre-Greek period, the classical and Hellenistic periods, the time of the empire of Alexander the Great, the Hellenistic Empire, then the Roman and Byzantine Empire, Bulgarian Kingdom Empire, Ottoman Empire, and modern Bulgarian states. So this so rich cultural heritage, which is preserved not only on land but also underwater, along with the unique natural landscape of Nessebar, were the reasons for the inclusion of the town in the list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites in 1983. As I mentioned, part of this heritage is underwater due to the relative sea level rise and the tectonic movements of these parts of the coast, which resulted in submergence of significant part of the ancient city. So in the aquatory of Mesoamerica, we have discovered remains which are at distance of more than 150 meters from the present coast and at depth up to 5 meters, 5 or 6 meters. Many of these monuments are very well preserved and are quite impressive architectural remains. But despite their uniqueness with no parallels along the Western Black Sea coast, this cultural heritage remained for many years unknown and I could say almost forgotten. The research of the submerged heritage of Nessebar began more than 60 years ago under the directorship of Luba Ognenova, who is one of the pioneers, women pioneers in underwater archaeologists, not only in Bulgaria, but also in the world underwater archaeology. She dedicated many years of her brilliant career to the research and discovery of the submerged past of Mesembria, with volunteers from the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences and also from the National Expedition Club of UNESCO. Experienced divers, she did 15 expeditions between 1960 and 1983 and discovered numerous submerged underwater sites. These are some moments of their research and some elements of the submerged fortification system that Luba Ognenova and her team discovered. You could see big fortification walls on the northern, western, southeastern, and southwestern sides around the peninsula. Unfortunately, some of these monuments were covered by ground and materials during the reinforcement work for the protection of the peninsula from erosion and abrasion, and significant part of these submerged monuments now lay under the modern ring road around the peninsula, some modern parking places and reinforcement facilities. Hopefully, a significant part of this submerged heritage is still underwater, and I would say in very good condition, very good state of preservation. From 2017, the National Center for Underwater Archaeology restarted the underwater survey of Nessebar with annual funding by the Ministry of Culture and the support of the Balkan Heritage Foundation. And so far, for this already 4 or 5 years, we have rediscovered many of the discoveries of Luba Ognenova, and we have made also important new discoveries, and using modern methods for conservation, for research and documentation, we have explored and documented many of the submerged structures. These are some pictures and some models of our work. So we have rediscovered and discovered previously unknown elements from the fortification system of ancient Mesembria. Some of them made of big stones, big ashwares, probably from the classical, late classical or Hellenistic period, so 5th, 4th or 3rd century BC. Some Byzantine walls made of stones and mortar from the 5th or 6th century AD. These are impressive monumental remains, well preserved, big stones laying in situ on their places. And in the last few years, we have uncovered them. Usually when we find them, they are covered with carpet of seagrass, and they are invisible. And our task is to find them, clean them, and document them, and to prepare their future communication with the public through publications, such presentations, virtual reality, and probably with underwater diving tours. So these are our vast discoveries, some very big monumental underwater breakwaters, which are probably the biggest underwater archaeological structures known so far along the western Black Sea coast. Probably they were part of the ancient harbors of Nessebar, and from the written sources we know that the town had 2 harbors. In our work, we have met many issues, many problems, and in the same time, we assessed the big potential of the submerged heritage of Mesambria. So this serious potential that Nessebar possesses as its underwater cultural heritage has not been evaluated so far. So it has hidden touristic potential. It possesses a great combination of underwater cultural and natural sites with significant value. These underwater sites possess very good opportunities for establishment of underwater touristic tours and diving tourism, because they are accessible from the shore, that they are not very far from the sea, from the coast. They are surrounded by a beautiful underwater and well-preserved natural landscape, significant underwater biodiversity. The sites are in areas which are not visited by boats because of the reefs, what makes a quite safe environment, well, easily accessible from the shore, at depth between 2 and 5-6 meters and distance from about 200 meters from the shore. Adding to this is the fame of Nasseba as a world cultural destination, and the so well developed touristic infrastructure. But this potential of this hidden underwater cultural heritage met many difficulties for its presentation and conservation. One of these issues and challenges are the necessities for the maintenance and the development of the harbors and the harbor infrastructure of Nessebar. Nessebar is a vivid town which population is engaged not only in touristic activities, but also in fishing activities and various maritime activities connected with the tourism of the town. So the development of the harbors and their maintenance is an important necessity, which sometimes could put in danger the underwater cultural heritage. Here comes the responsibility of the cultural authorities as the local museum, the Nessebar Archaeological Museum, the National Center for Underwater Archaeology, the Ministry of Culture with its structure for the protection of this cultural heritage. And I would say that in the last few years, we successfully do monitoring and control of all these activities. And thus ensuring the preservation of the underwater cultural heritage for us and for the future generation. These are some moments of our work with colleagues from the Museum of Nasseba and the Center for Underwater Archaeology. Another serious issue is the pollution and the litter, which we find in the aquatory of Nasseba. What is not exception in all the harbors along the western Bulgarian, along the Bulgarian sea coast, we have this serious problem with over-polluted harbors, especially the fishermen harbors. So you could see on this picture hundreds and thousands of litter elements, mostly tires, but not only, various kinds of garbage bottles, plastic bags, ropes, etc. What is normal because these harbors have been used for with no interruption every day, and they have not been maintained from this point of view. So we have a very interesting situation, very important underwater cultural heritage with so significant value, along with the existence of these underwater litter deposits already. So our task is the cleaning of the sea, what is already one of the goals of Nasseba municipality. I would say that the municipality won this year a project for cleaning of its aquatory, and in the next year this project will be implemented, and I suppose that this situation will change very soon. But another very important moment from this is the policy of municipality and the cultural institutions for education and creating consciousness in the local users of these harbors, the local mariners and the fishermen, the consciousness for the value and the importance of the sea, and consciousness of our responsibility for its preservation and protection. This important educational parties element of the project of Nasseba municipality, and I think that this is the most important and solid base for future changes of this very worrying situation with the pollution, as I said, not only in Nasseba but along the entire Bulgarian coasts. Another serious issue that we meet is with again with the human impact on the environment, which affects also the cultural heritage. This picture and this ground plan are from a wall discovered by the expedition of Luba Ognenova. This is the so-called the crescent-shaped tower, or the Thracian tower, which according to Luba, is the oldest and the deepest structure that they have discovered. She dates this structure to the pre-Greek, the Thracian period, occupation and fortification of the ancient town. For several years, we tried to discover where this wall is, and although we have their ground plans underwater maps, we couldn't find this wall. The maps of Luba Ognjanova show that it lays in a present sea floor, which is covered with small stones and with just sandy sea floor. This year we decided to make a trench archaeological excavations, and we excavate this sandy sea floor without any evidence of remains of architectural archaeological structures. And for our surprise, we found these remains of these walls, processed blocks, covered with a thick layer of mussel shells and sea snail shells, which layer is more than 1.5 meters thick. So this massive layer of seashells was generated, was produced, sedimented over the last, I would say, 40, 50 years. And the main reason for this was the extinction of the Black Sea black mussels caused by the sea snails which ate them. And the sea snails have been transported from the Japanese Sea by trading boats in 50s and 60s, and they found in the Black Sea perfect conditions for their development. So their population developed so fast and successfully that they ate entirely their main food, the mussels and other shells, along the entire Black Sea coast. So they almost extincted these shells, and as a result of this, a thick layer of their shells covered the underwater cultural heritage, not only in the aquatory of Nessebar, also in other places, which is a serious problem for us, for the underwater archaeologists, for the discovery and survey of this cultural heritage, which we have to solve in our future surveys. Another serious issue is the conservation of the underwater sites that we find, discover, and clean. These are moments of our work in Nessebar, uncovering this fortification wall made of big ashwars. You could see here on the left side of the picture that when they are not cleaned, when they are covered with small mussels and sea grass, they are almost invisible. In manner to document and survey, we clean these structures from the seaweeds and the mussels. This obviously creates some conservation issues, which we have to solve and address if we decide to turn some of these underwater sites to touristic destination, what requires annual and permanent maintenance and cleaning of these structures. Because if we leave them without maintenance, they very soon are covered with new seaweeds. But what we find out when a year later we visited and documented this the same wall, so this wall, is that it was cleaned but with very different seaweeds, another kind of seaweeds, what means that we change the natural environment of this underwater structure, and we caused growing of another vegetation over the underwater structures. So we harmed this equilibrium which was created by the nature and these cultural monuments, which equilibrium obviously well preserved them for so many centuries. So in manner to turn these cultural monuments to touristic destination to maintain, we first have to assess, to evaluate what would be the impact of this maintenance of these archaeological structures, and if this cleaning and maintaining will harm them. So for this, we have to involve experienced underwater archaeologists and underwater conservators who have to assess what would be the impact to this heritage. So these are just some of the issues that we have to solve. Saying we, I mean not only the Center for Underwater Archaeology and the Ministry of Culture, but also the Museum of Nessebar, the Municipality of Nessebar, and the society, which the cultural society, which have interest to the cultural heritage, and especially for the underwater cultural heritage. What is our joint responsibility? And I would say that for the moment we have very good cooperation with the museum, the Ministry of Culture, the municipality, and I hope that I know that this cooperation will continue in the future, giving us rewarding results for the cultural heritage, archaeology, and the people of Nasseba. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prachov. Thank you for extensive experience in the field. And if somebody of our partners have some questions, please. Okay.
If no, I could always answer your questions. You could always direct them to the Center for Underwater Archaeology, and we will be happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Mr. Prachov. We continue now with the presentation of Mr. Todor Marvakov, archaeologist, director of the Museum Ancient Nessebar. Ancient Nessebar Museum is a municipal, scientific, cultural, and educational institution that participates in the implementation of the state policy on protection of cultural monuments and the National Archaeological and Architectural Reserve Ancient Nessebar on the territory of Municipality of Nessebar. Its primary function is collection, documentation, preservation, study, and popularization of the cultural monuments. And welcome, Mr. Marvakov.
Okay, well, hello everyone. My name is Martin. I will present the short presentation which was prepared by Mr. Todor Marvakov, the director of our museum. Now, actually, this is a project that we're very excited about, and I'm glad that we can present it to you today. The name of the project is Landscape Archaeology Models for Reconstruction of Ancient Living Environment. And it's underway currently on the territory of the Municipality of Nessebar. The project is financed by the Bulgarian National Science Fund and is conducted by a team from the New Bulgarian University, the Departments of Archaeology and Natural Science, in partnership with Ancient Nessebar Museum, our museum. Now, the project consists mainly of field research on the territory of Nessebar municipality, and the first phase of the project was carried out during the months of October and November 2020. Now in March this year, the field research was resumed and currently focuses on the territory of the south slopes of the easternmost part of the Balkan Mountain. And it aims at the reconstruction of the ancient landscape of that area, which is part of the Nasseba municipality. And the main goal here, the emphasis, is on tracing the impact of the human factor on the environment and also creating a reliable reconstruction of the ancient landscape, which hopefully would allow us to have a more complete understanding of the settlements that used to be there. And also, this is very important, last but not least, the project studies the problem of water supply and in general the dependence of water resources in the past. So as a result of the implementation of this project, a total of 220 previously unknown archaeological sites were registered on the territory of Nessebar municipality, which, I mean, we knew that the whole area was very densely populated throughout the history, but it was really a surprise that we discovered so many unknown archaeological sites. There were already many known sites, but now there are even more that it was even a surprise for the archaeologists. The majority of the sites, newly discovered sites, are settlements, but we do have some other, like production centers, mounds, defense facilities, and we even have one church. Most of them are situated along the shores of the three larger rivers in the area, Hajiska River being the biggest one. Chronologically, the sites date from the Copper Age or the Neolithic Age all the way to the 19th century. So we have roughly, let's say, 5,000 or 6,000 years of continuous habitation. The most interesting ones, in terms of archaeology, the most intriguing ones, date from the late Iron Age and from the late Antiquity. And before I show you some pictures of the project, I just want to very briefly, I'd like to mention another project, which is also currently underway on the territory of Municipality of Nasseba, also conducted by the same team. And the name of this second project is Reconstruction of Material Culture and Knowledge of the Ancient Natural Habitat through the Methods of Archaeological Chemistry. The two projects go alongside, hand in hand, and we hope with this second project to also obtain new data on the material culture of the people that inhabited this area. And we're expecting the results of this project soon. Okay, so, but let's go back to the project I'm presenting today, which is the landscape archaeology. I'll show you some pictures now of the area in question. This is the easternmost part of the Balkan Mountain that goes into the sea. And you can see, I hope you can see, the peninsula, which is the old town of Nessebar, in the middle, kind of in the middle. It's another picture. This is almost the entire territory of the municipality of Nessebar and partially a small part of the municipality of Pomorie, which is the neighboring municipality. Some more pictures from the mountains here. And there's a topographic map of the area. Maybe you can see to the north on the right side map. Oh, it's me there. But yeah, I hope you can see the Balkan Mountain to the north. By the way, the highest point of the mountain here is just about 500 meters. It's not that high, but it really serves as a protective wall, from the from the winds coming from the north, which really makes this area a perfect place for habitation, considering the rivers, the water that there is there, and also the mountain that protects from north. So it's really a very suitable place. So it's no surprise it was inhabited for thousands of years. So in chronological orders, show you some of the new sites. Well, there's the topographic map here. Now you can see actually up in the right corner in red, this is part of the open mountain there. Okay. There is now starting with the Copper Age or Neolithic Age. This is the area again that was covered. Volcan Mountain on the top, Nasseba you see to the right, and the town of Kableshkulu is to the south. Because again, most of the settlements are located along the rivers. And there is a dam there. It's called the Poroi Dam, which nowadays exists there. So these are on the right side, or on the left side, I'm sorry, on the left hand side you see the previously known site from the Copper Age, and on the right side you see the two newly discovered registered sites. This is, by the way, not all of the sites I'll show you. This is from the first phase of the project from the last year, because now it's still undergoing the second phase, which started in March. So we don't have really the results yet, but this is from the first phase. There are two newly discovered Copper Age sites along the Hajiska River. Here's pictures. There are nowadays the village of Gyulovca, one of them, and the village of Tankovo. Okay, next is the Bronze Age. Map again, and here we have 7 previously known sites, and this time we have 3 new ones, pretty much on the same area along the rivers. Next we have that's the length of the village of Tankovo, both of them. Just showing you 2 of them here around the village of Tankovo. Then we have the early Iron Age, again around the village of Tankovo. Now on some of the slides on the right hand side you will see some drawings of pottery, parts of pottery, ceramic elements that were found at the respective site. Okay, now we have here second half of the first millennium BC. This is probably the period with the most newly discovered archaeological sites. So we have more pictures here. There you go. And this is near the Poroi Dam, and again around the village of Tankovo. We have some pottery on the right hand side. Some more here near the village of Orizare. This is the director, by the way, with the backpack down there. That's our director during the field research. Okay, and there's a village of the former village of Pazovets, which is up in the mountain, high up in the mountain. And the lower picture in the background, I hope you can see that's the television tower, which is the highest point of the mountain in that part of the mountain. Okay, then next is the Roman period. Also quite a few new sites discovered here. Some pictures. All of them are around the village of Orizare. Okay, next is late antiquity. Also very rich in terms of newly discovered sites. It's again a picture from up in the mountain, Plazovets area, and then another one from the village of Poroi near the dam, near the Poroi Dam. And finally we have the Middle Ages. These are the sites on the right-hand side, you see several newly discovered previously unknown sites dated to the Middle Ages. Okay, and finally, I'd like to finish the presentation with a very interesting case. It's a map again of the Middle Ages. Very interesting case with the former village of Pandakli, which is, I mean, again, the whole area was densely inhabited throughout the history, but we think that the particular case with this village of Pandakli is very interesting. And what's interesting about it is that we have proof, it seems that it has been continuously inhabited with no interruption whatsoever from the Copper Age, around, let's say, roughly 5th millennium BC, all the way until the end of the 19th century. So archaeologists find artifacts from all the periods from the Copper Age to the end of 19th century. You can see, by the way, on the right side, the lower corner, you see this is a picture from Second World War. It's a German aerial picture, photos. And you can still see the houses there, some of the houses, but there was no population already at that time. So anyway, it's really amazing for us that we have 6,000 and even more than 6,000 years of continuous habitation of this village. Unfortunately, it no longer exists. I mean, we are trying to find out why it ceased to exist. We'll do our best in the future to discover why and when exactly and where these people moved to. We think it has something to do with the Russo-Turkish wars during the 19th century. When many Bulgarians moved, they settled in the historical region of Bessarabia, which is nowadays in Ukraine and Moldova. But this is just an assumption. We're not sure yet, so we'll do our best in the future to find out why and where the people of that village moved to. Well, this is it. Thank you for listening. Any questions? If anyone has any question, please go ahead. Thank you again for your attention.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Mr. Marwakov. It was very interesting. And to sharing with us this specific activity of museum. Okay. Now is turn of Ms. Safotanu, archaeologist from the European Center of Byzantine and Post-Byzantine Monuments. She will present the Greek monuments in the UNESCO list, the case of monuments within Natura 2000 network. Welcome, Safa.
Sorry. Okay. Dear partners, good morning from European Center for Byzantine and Post-Byzantine Monuments. That's the moment to maximize the screen. Could you please? Okay. Okay. In 1981, Greece signed the UNESCO Treaty. Okay. For the protection of the monuments and sites of the world's cultural heritage. The purpose is to protect these monuments from erosion and destruction and to preserve them for future generations. Our country, up to date, has inscribed 18 monuments, archaeological sites and settlements with wide chronological rates from prehistory to modern times, and geographical spread throughout the territory. Okay. The monuments are the table of the Temple of Apollo Epicurios, the archaeological site of Delphine, Acropolis in Athens, the Mount Athos, Meteora, Paleo-Christian and Byzantine monuments in Thessaloniki, the archaeological site of Epidavros, the medieval city of Rhodes, the archaeological site of Olympia, Mistras, Delos, monasteries of Nea Money of Chios, Osios Lukas, Daphne, the Pythagorean and Tyreon in Samos, archaeological site of Ergina, archaeological site of Mykene and Tyrins, historic center with the monastery of St. John the Theologian and the cave of Apocalypse on the island of Patmos, ancient city of Corfu, Philippi. Meteora and Mount Athos are UNESCO World Heritage Sites with mixed destination for both their natural and cultural values. Additionally, there are the only monuments that are still active, inhabited by monks. The above-mentioned Greek monuments and sites, regarded as being of primary importance from an artistic, scientific, aesthetic, ethnological, or anthropological point of view, had been included so far in the UNESCO list. Natura 2000 is a network of natural protection areas in the territory of the European Union. It is made up of special areas of conservation and special protection areas designated under the Habitat Directive and the BERS Directive, respectively. The network includes both terrestrial and marine protected areas. In Greece, the updating of the national catalogue of the European Ecological Network Natura 2000 was implemented by the Department of Biodiversity and Protected Areas of the Ministry of Environment and Energy in the period 2013-2015. Greece has today designated 202 special protection areas for the avifauna and 241 sites of community importance. The two lists of areas overlap each other in places, as you see on the map. The activities of the areas of the Natura 2000 network are regulated until today by the national legislation. The hunting is under strict restriction. The poisonous baits and the eradication of plants and the plant collection for commercial use are forbidden. On the contrary, the agriculture, the animal husbandry, the ecotourism, the athletic activity are permitted under terms, as well as the road and building construction and touristic and moderate financial activity. What about the Greek sites that have been included in list UNESCO and also fall into Natura 2000 zones? A research was carried out using Natura 2000 Viewer as the main tool, along with the list of the Greek monuments recognized as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The archaeological site of Delphine was included in list UNESCO in 1987. The responsible body for the management is F48 of Antiquities of Phokis. Delphine lies between the rocks of Mountain Parnassus in the regional unit of Phokis in central Greece. There lies the Pan-Hellenic sanctuary of Apollo, the Olympian god of light, knowledge, and harmony. The development of the sanctuary and oracle began in the 18th century BC, and the religious and political influence over the whole of Greece increased in the 6th century BC. The archaeological site of the Erthi is protected under the provisions of law on the protection of antiquities and cultural heritage in general. The site is part of the most extended geographical area of landscape and monuments under protection. Building is prohibited, and the area of the slopes of Mount Paraskevic, well, there is a protection zone covering an area which extends in the two regional units. It's also a Natura site with the names Southeast Parnassos Mountain, Parnassos National Park, Tithoreas Forest. The natural site is characterized by a variety of vegetation types, some of which are protected by the Greek law, and among them there exist special priority habitat types. This, in combination with its interesting geomorphology, make the area remarkable with flora and fauna. The Mount Athos was recognized as UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1988 and is subject to F4 of Antiquities of Cassini, Mount Athos. The Center of the Safeguarding of the Athonite Heritage in Thessaloniki has also founded to approve all relevant scientific studies and supervise the execution of all works carried out in the peninsula. Although Mount Athos was inhabited by Christian Orthodox hermits from a much earlier date, the first organized monastery, Great Lavra, was established by St. Athanasius the Athonite in 963 AD. Since then, 19 other monasteries and many other smaller facilities, such as hermitages, skits, churches, and cells, have been built. The monuments are protected by the provision of the archaeological law, the protection of antiquities and cultural heritage in general, and by separate ministerial decrees published in the official government gazette. It is protected as the Natura named Peninsula Athos. There are two bodies responsible for the site, the Forest Directorate of Halkidiki and the Holy Community of Mount Athos. Athos Peninsula contains well-preserved forests and wooded areas. Habitat for a large number of plants and animal species, including endemic species, exist in Mount Athos due to the diversity of ecosystem in a very limited area. Are also limited area ranging from alpine to Mediterranean. Additionally, the coastal and marine areas are also rich in biodiversity, as evidenced by the presence of the Mediterranean Mussels, Monachos. The rock pillars of Meteora, with the famous monasteries built on their summit, were selected as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1988, and the responsible body is the F4 of Antiquity of Trikala. Unique temples of medieval monastic architecture adorn the summits of the Meteora rock pillars. The first monasteries were established in the 14th century when monastic communities first began to develop. 24 monasteries were inhabited during the 15th and 16th centuries, although today only 6 are still active. Meteora is a Natura site named Antichasia Mountain and Meteora, and is managed by the Forest Service of Trikala and the Forest Service of Kalabaka. The rocks of Meteora constitute a unique geologic formation, and the region is also rich in natural cavities and caves that have been transformed by earthquakes and sculpted by the rain and wind into a variety of spectacular shapes. The large number of endemic and threatened species legally protected at national and international level reinforces the great botanical and zoological value. The archaeological site of Olympia is included in list UNESCO since 1989 and is managed by the Ephorate of Antiquities of Philea. The sanctuary of Olympia in the northwest of the Peloponnese, in the regional unit of Philea, has been established in the valley created by the confluence of the Alpheus and Clandius rivers. In the 10th century before Christ, Olympia became a center for the worship of Zeus, the Altis. The sanctuary to the gods was one of the highest concentration of masterpieces from the ancient Greek world. In addition to temples, there are remains of all the sports structure erected for the Olympic Games, which were held in Olympia every 4 years, beginning in 776 BC. The site is protected by the provisions of the archaeological law on the protection of antiquities and cultural heritage in general. Olympia is inscribed in list of Natura 2000 sites with the site name Olympia. The landscape consists of a complex mosaic of natural, semi-natural, and agricultural units. Its exceptional feature is the fauna, due to the landscape. Apart from the sites mentioned above that have been certified by international institutions, a preliminary research has been conducted concerning all Greek monuments that belong to a natural environment of special importance and are protected by national legislation. In the framework of Mo.Na project, which records, analyzes, assesses, and contributes towards the protection and promotion of natural resources and cultural heritage across the Balkan Mediterranean territory, we attempted to record all official Greek terrestrial archaeological monuments and sites that are, at the same time, protected by Natura 2000. This research was carried out using Natura 2000 Viewer as a main tool, along with the catalogue of the inscribed monument sites provided by the Ministry of Culture and Sport. The results of this survey constitute, among other things, potential cases on which the Mo.Na branding system will be applied in Greece. This inclusion of national cultural monuments and sites with natural interest in this particular system, entitled Brand for the Promotion and Protection of the Natural and Cultural Environment, can provide a major added value in the protection and promotion of the sites and monuments understanding. This initial recording and the associated produced catalogue comprises all Greek official archaeological monuments and sites that fall into Natura 2000 zone. It consists of approximately 2,148 cultural monuments and natural sites, and contains mainly archaeological sites, temples, castles, churches, aqueducts, bridges, mills, windmills, burial monuments, fountains, ancient mines, old roads, public and private buildings, oil presses, public baths, mosques, lighthouses, ancient quarries, and railway stations. Additionally, a small number of natural beauty protected landscapes, rivers, mountains, sea zones, canyons, and caves is included in the accomplished inventory. Recorded sites and monuments belong to a wide chronological range extending from the prehistoric period to the 20th century. Given that the sites discussed represent the fusion of culture and natural landscape, they should be placed under a special regime and appropriate legal protection due to their dual importance. The appeal is even more vital nowadays when their high significance is unfortunately neglected and both their viable aspects, cultural and natural, are endangered by climate change and profit-driven choices. The recording and possible branding of these sites by the aforementioned Mo.Na branding system could be used as a very useful tool for further promoting the protection and forging a stronger partnership between nature and culture via multidisciplinary cooperation. Πλακοταριά. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Safo, for your extensive presentation. Thank you for sharing with us your experience with the Natura 2000 network. If there are any questions from the partners. Okay, then we can continue. The municipal leadership of the Nessebar municipality in person of Mr. Dimitrov uses every opportunity to attract funds for the preservation of the cultural heritage of the city. With the next informational movie, we want to share with you our experience and to present you the role of the Foundation of Leventis for the funding the restoration, reconstruction, and preservation of the historical monuments from the Hellenic, Roman, and Byzantine cultural heritage in Nessebar, and more specifically the completion of the architecture reconstruction of the unique mural paintings of Saint Stephen Church. So you can enjoy the video now.
Nessebar is one of the most ancient towns in Europe, founded more than 3,200 years ago. The antique Messembria, called in the early Middle Age Messembria, and today Nessebar, was settled at the end of the Bronze Age by the Thracians. At the end of the 6th century before Christ, the first Greek colonizers of Dorian origin arrived in the area. The town grew up quickly and turned it into a typical Greek polis. In the beginning of the 1st century, the town was included permanently in the borders of the Roman Empire. After the capital of the Roman Empire was moved to Constantinople and Christianity was adopted as the official religion, new Christian temples, basilicas, were built in Messembria by leading architects and constructors of the empire on the analogy of those in the capital. During its existence, Nessebar is believed to have had 40 churches, and it's called by ours and foreign researchers the Bulgarian Ravenna. For its unique nature and many well-preserved monuments from different ages, on the 7th session of the World Heritage Committee in Florence, Italy, in 1993, the ancient Nessebar was included in the World Heritage List. Leventis Foundation funds the restoration, reconstruction, and preservation of historical monuments from the Hellenic, Byzantine and Roman cultural heritage all over the world. Before directing its attention to the unique Nessebar, the foundation took up the complete restoration of the ossuary of Bachkov Monastery and the partial reconstruction of the Odeon of the ancient Philippopolis. Later on, the foundation also carries out a restoration of St. Dimitrius Church in Boboshko. The partnership with the Nessebar Municipality begins after signing a joint venture agreement with the World Monument Fund, headquartered in New York, which stipulates the completion of the architectural reconstruction and preservation of the unique mural paintings of St. Stephen Church. After, there were few other joint projects with the Nessebar Municipality. For his action, the president of the foundation, Anastasios Paulevantis, was awarded the title of Honorary Citizen of Nasseba. The ceremony took place in the Archaeological Museum. I would like to give to Mr. Paulevantis the document with the decision of the City Council. As the mayor said, he is already our fellow citizen and is always welcome to come back home. Paulevantis received the honorary collar and the key of Nessebar from the mayor Nikolai Dimitrov, as well as an honorary plaque for a donor and a painting of the landscape of Nessebar, so that he could remember the town when he's not around. Another present that he received was from the manager of the museum, Petr Kiashkina, the first copy of the newly published Guide of the Archaeological Museum of Nessebar. Its publishing is also being funded by the foundation.
A fundamental focus of our foundation. And the second and more important reason is that this represents a deep-held belief that I have that without our culture and history and without the ability and the means of seeing and recording what went before, no society can survive in its present state. To understand where we are now, we must understand the past. No society can flourish in the future if it does not understand where it comes from and what holds it together. And last but not least, of course, now that I'm a member, a citizen, an honorary citizen of this city, it is a great honor and pleasure for me to throw my weight, such as it is, behind the efforts of enlightened and intelligent and well-informed people of this city in preserving that very important heritage which we have.
I think that there is no need to say that the responsibility is big, because we guarantee our authority to the Levantis Foundation, and we are aiming at following all the direction of the experts working for the foundation, so that our mutual understanding, support and cooperation can go on. Because nowadays donors for something like a cultural heritage are very rare. We have to protect this world heritage and to respect those who help for its preservation. We have double responsibilities because Nessebar is not only national but also World Heritage Site. Leventis didn't miss the opportunity to see the results of the restoration of the murals in the Church of Saint Stephen. He was accompanied by Professor Karolambos Bakirdis, the expert of Leventis Foundation, Boris Khachiev, the Bulgarian representative of Leventis, and Stefan Belishki, the president of the Bulgarian Committee of ICOMOS.
Saint Stephen Church is initially built in 11th century and had 3 naves and 3 apses. Later on, in the 16th century, it was widened to the west, when it was also wall painted. Inside, there are unique murals preserved from the 19th century. In the past 30 years, the church hasn't been restored, and its condition made it necessary for urgent measures for strengthening the construction to take place, as well as complete restoration of the murals. For 4 years, there's been a lot of work done. The project was finished in 2009, and on 11th of May, the church was officially consecrated in the presence of the restorers, citizens of Nessebar, and public figures. Now the church lives its second life.
Due to the many churches, Nasseba is an attractive destination not only for tourists looking for sun and sea, but also traveling around the world to feel the historical heritage and past. The Church of St. Stephen is one of the places which fascinates tourists from all over the world, with its icons and frescoes.
It's a fascinating piece of history. The icons, the paintings are beautiful. They're very well preserved. And it's just a really unique and inspiring part of the world to visit.
Oh, I thought they were beautiful, but I especially enjoyed from our guides the region, the church, and the individual paintings, what they mean and the style that they were painted in. It's beautiful. It's really unique. It's really beautiful.
The Bulgarian National Committee of International Council on Monuments and Sites makes series of international and national projects in the field of preservation.
Hello, can you hear me? There is no sound anymore.
It's still good after all the rains and after all the bad weather and so on and so forth. It was beautiful. Yes, it was exquisite. Yes.
Okay.
Very much. The paintings were beautiful.
The list of activities of Leventis doesn't end here. What comes next is funding the restoration project of St. John the Baptist Church and the future project for strengthening the construction of St. Archangels Michael and Gabriel Church built in the 13th century.
Ние обсъждаме доста време възможността за
We are discussing the possibility to funding the restoration of St. Archangels Michael and Gabriel Church for a long time. There is a project prepared. The preliminary project made with the assistance of the foundation and a working one with the assistance of the Nessebar Municipality. This church is in danger, the construction is severely damaged, and is at a high risk of self-destruction. This was one of the reasons for us to focus on it in the past 2-3 years. Now we go there with Mr. Leventis to show him the conditions and to discuss with Professor Bakirtzis some details of the project, hoping that the funding will be soon.
Проекта с надеждата, че ще има финансирането ще бъде скоро.
The Leventis saw the condition of the basilica and promised financial support for its strengthening. Specialists already inspected the church to see the damages. Leventis was interested to see the exhibition Nessebar and the bay on old maps, 4th, 19th century, displayed in the emblematic for the town Christ Pantocrator Church, dated from 14th century. The mayor, Nikolai Dimitrov, promised that the president of the foundation would receive a replica of one of the paintings, which gives a new perspective on the history of the military peninsula and a clear idea for its place and importance over the centuries. The uniqueness of Nasseba, with its world cultural heritage and the preservation of the antiquity, bring together the effort of a foundation and a municipality.
My last visit was, what was it, last visit was I think 3.5 years ago, yes. 3 years ago. I find that there has been some progress. Definitely, I think.
Не баща му, всъщност беше този, който е...
There are still problems, serious problems, but I think with the will of the government and of the people here, this can be achieved, progress can be achieved, and we can get to a stage where the state of the city reflects its importance in terms of the culture and background of the country of Bulgaria.
All Leventis will look at the future tourist route in Nasseba, which will include all the churches. Nasseba Municipality managed to receive funding from the European project Fate in Nasseba. With additional financing for its part, 2 other churches in the old city will be fully renovated: Saint John the Baptist and Saint Paraskevic.
We think it's an excellent idea. We've supported it from the time this idea was first suggested, was first mooted. We think, and we need this idea of linking up the old city, the elements of the old city to cultural roots, I think is very important and can certainly attract even more good quality tourism, because that's really what this is all about.
The collaboration between Nasseba Municipality and Leventis for preservation of the monuments in the town of UNESCO will continue. Because, as the president of the foundation said, to understand where we are now, we must understand the past.
Thank you very much for your attention. Now we will continue with Dr. Maria Salumidi about habitat mapping and biodiversity conservation in Nessebar. Please, Dr. Salumidi.
Good morning, can you hear me? Hello everyone, thank you so much for all these interesting talks and the video, and well, that only makes us feel more regret for not having been able to visit Nessebar. Okay, so I'm here today with you to, can you see my presentation? In presentation mode?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Yes,
everything is okay.
Great. Thank you. All right, so my presentation is about marine habitats of Nessebar and the adjacent pointed coasts, and I will be presenting some highlights from the Mo.Na field survey. And this presentation and all the work done in Nessebar has been done with the precious collaboration of the local Dinimar company. So within the Mo.Na framework, HMR is there to contribute to the promotion and enhancement of the conservation of the marine environment, and particularly in 3 case study areas, those of Nessebar in Bulgaria, Butrint in Albania, and Santorini Island in Greece. So here, I'm just presenting some highlights from the habitat mapping for the promotion of biodiversity conservation in Nessebar. This is where we start. We have a Natura 2000 area, the site of conservation interest, Archaeological and Nessebar. This is definitely a marine site. Over 80% of this area is marine, and there has also been some previous work in describing and mapping habitats underwater. Here you can see the existing habitat mapping from the sea, from the Mo.Na portal, and this is where we were starting from. Of course, there are some missing points. There are always some missing points, especially with marine science. Existing data are based on a limited number of field studies and mostly habitat modeling, and they have not been updated since 2010. Well, there's definitely lack of spatial data regarding marine habitats from a biotic perspective, because, you know, these are mostly like underwater reefs and underwater soft seabeds. They're not exactly what we understand as a habitat from a biotic perspective. And of course, for the same reason, there is lack of spatial data regarding associated marine biodiversity. So the original idea was that the HMR scientific diving team would visit the area and will have the opportunity to explore ourselves the underwater habitats. But well, COVID just changed everything. As much as we wanted to do it, we decided that it was not so safe. Well, so there's everything has a bright side. We were lucky enough to of course, we knew already. We have been collaborating with marine scientists from Bulgaria, so we were very lucky to be able to collaborate with the local company Dinimar that is doing marine research in the area. And we could instead let local people go and search for what we needed to find out. So here I'm going to be presenting some of the findings of this field research. And well, target transits now, they have been selected according on the existing local knowledge. So this field study focused on acquiring up-to-date in situ data on target habitat types and habitat forming marine plants and invertebrates, and update and improve available habitat distribution models and spatial maps available. So here you can see how the fieldwork actually was developed. You can see that there have been some diving transits in areas where not so good information existing in the around the old town of Nessebar, and also around Ravda, where the local expert identified an area of particular interest. Now here, the white area is land. Maybe it is a bit confusing, but here you can see some first results, and our findings mostly confirm that indeed marine habitats around the areas of interest are mostly either rocky substrate like reefs in various depths, and also various soft bottoms like sands, thin, fine, or coarse sands. Okay, so Now, when we come to reefs, that can mean any hard fixed substrate on the sea bottom, but the reefs can have a great variety, different biotic communities, and they can provide very important information about the state of the marine environment as well. So in this case, reefs presented a rich diversity of actual habitat types from a biotic perspective. The shallow water reefs surrounding the peninsula of Nessebar had the most extensive hard bottom ecosystems in the area, so the reefs were more developed there. These reefs were actually classified in at least 7 different Black Sea habitat subtypes. So the most important of them, and the most actually some of the very good news is that these reefs are mostly colonized by rich and lush schistosera algal forest. Now, this is a very important macroalgae. It is habitat forming. It's like an underwater forest, as you maybe can see in these pictures, because there are many, many species that go there to find refuge, to find food, to reproduce and everything. So these are very important habitat formers, and they're typically used as indices of good environmental quality in marine areas. So at least 2 species, Schistosera barbata forest and Schistosera bosphorica forest, were found to predominate in our study area. And okay, apart from that, now there are some other aspects, and well, I'm very happy that Dr. Naiden Pranov is here, so I can thank him personally for this picture that, of course, I acquired through Dimitar Berov. So you can see, as he very well described, that still you can have some mussel reefs, Mytilus reefs in the area, which are a very typical species of the Black Sea. But during the field survey, they were rather assessed as in decline, for the reason that also Dr. Pranov described, and I will come back to it later for a bit. And also artificial reefs, because we have those nice submerged, very interesting submerged fortifications on the eastern coast of Nasseba Peninsula. And as Dr. Pranov also already mentioned, this had been scraped off to facilitate the archaeological expedition. And so now that these structures were revisited, we had the opportunity to see what is now colonizing the reef. So apart from some opportunistic typical ephemeral species, actually there was an ongoing recolonization by Schistosera barbata, which definitely means that the environment is in a good state at the moment, at least for the reef ecosystems. Now, other phases of reefs were also present, a great and very interesting, typical, mostly biodiversity of the Black Sea was observed. So we think that this is a quite rich and interesting environment from a biodiversity perspective. Now, moving on to soft seabeds, as we say, sands were also covering a large part of our study area, and they were most dominant around Ravda and the beaches of the sandy beaches of Ravda. And they mostly presented both vegetated, they presented both vegetated and unvegetated phases. So here you can see some aspects from the unvegetated phases. These are very, very important, very productive, and quite biodiverse, rich ecosystems. Maybe we cannot see it with first glance, but these sediments are inhabited by several organisms. And for example, here, quite a few phases were identified, like medium and coarse sands dominated by the bivalve clams, the clams, Donatilla cornea, or Donax trunculus, or Camellia gallina, very important seabeds with very important ecosystem services. And also, as you can see here, where this is mostly not exactly sands, but it's biogenic detritus like cells from mussels and other clam species. And here these are seabeds that are inhabited by the mud shrimp, Upogebia pusilla. So these, although they might seem monotonous, are very important and useful ecosystems. But then again, we had also sands that have been colonized by seagrasses, and this is even better news because seagrasses are top for biodiversity. They're very, very important in cleaning water, in forming beaches, in protecting the shore, in enhancing biodiversity and offering shelter and food to a great number of species. So the area around Ravda presented very, very rich and extent seagrass beds. And not just one species, there was a quite interesting intermix of at least 3 different species, so Zostera nolte, Zostera marina, and the brackish water species, Sanichelia palustris. So here you can also see other aspects, different pondic communities. And well, our colleagues even described that they could observe signs of rapid expansion, meaning that these seagrass beds, they're doing quite well, and there is no, at least, pollution that is directly affecting them at the moment. So another aspect that you can find, and it's quite interesting as well, is habitat mosaics, because of course we have this, typology of different habitats and everything, but nature can never fit in a box. So here you can see that you have several habitat types actually joined together in mixed spaces, which is quite interesting also from, an aesthetic appeal for the area. Now, several human and natural pressures were found to be at play, and most of them have been also been emphasized from previous speakers. So now you have an ongoing coastal construction, which of course is affecting biotic communities, and well, they may be useful project things that we have to do, but we always have to study first and know exactly what we do, because we're transforming the marine environment, and some of the biotic communities that we may be destroying have very useful ecosystem services to offer. So we need to be more careful with this. Then, well, of course, you can have signs of fishing, and I'm not well aware of how fishing pressure, how increased it might be in the area, but you can see signs of, fishing gear actually deserted at the field. Plastic pollution, which is a fact almost everywhere in the world. And well, I think all of them are quite easy to manage. So you just need some, some management measures. You can do some cleanups, these things. Although they are very serious, I think that they can be addressed. And then, of course, we have this the snail. It's an invasive snail. It has been also been referred that from Dr. Pranov, but what we see here is a typical invasion. This is happening again all around the world. Maybe there are also ideas of how to cope with such situations, because this is also an edible species. And this is also a species that has been gaining commercial importance in Bulgaria. So maybe we do have some ideas of how to address such problems. And just to some concluding remarks, or recapping what I have already said, what we observed during the field survey in Nessebar is mostly healthy marine communities, apparently under decreasing anthropogenic pollution. So measures to address wastewater disposal seem to have been working these last years. A typical and interesting pontic diversity, interesting biotic features and diversity, even at small scales. And I'm talking about this very nice habitat mosaics. Very interesting mix of biodiversity with underwater antiquities. This is always a winner. It is a very, very nice feature. As I've already said, most pressures can be successfully addressed, at least this is my opinion, under the scope of targeted management plans. And there is great potential for snorkeling, diving, and in general, marine educational tourism, addressing both marine ecology and underwater archaeology enthusiasts. So that was more of it. I really want to thank these guys for their precious support at the field and the report writing and everything. And thank you very much all for your attention. So I don't know if there are any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Salumidi. You have done a huge work in the area. Thank you for sharing with us your study. If there are no questions from the partners, we can proceed with session number 2, the sustainable use of natural and cultural heritage of Nessebar. So architect Belin Mulov, who has over 45 years of experience in spatial planning and urban development, is presenting us about the universal cultural value of the ancient Nessebar. Welcome, Ms. Mulov. Mr. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Are you hear me well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So it's wonderful that I have a chance to participate in this webinar, because I learn a lot listening to the previous presentations. And now I prepare for you one quite long presentation, but I'm not going to read everything because it is in the slides. I just want to stress on the main issues. The name of the presentation is the topic is the ancient Nessebar universal cultural value that exists in a harmony with nature and the challenges of a living modern city. This is what is very specific, very, very important. And I think that Nessebar, Municipality of Nessebar, has a very nice chance to participate in Mo.Na project last 2 years. Just the time when in the last year, we worked together to prepare the main document for managing the municipality for the next 7 years. This is the so-called plan for integrated municipal development. And I see how big connection there is between the ideas and principles of in Mo.Na projects, and how interesting is to know this and to use it in preparing the main municipal documents for the future development. The experience of the municipality of Nessebar for the development of sustainable tourism in the protected as a world cultural value old town and care for the natural environment to achieve economic prosperity and a high standard of living of the local community. This is the idea of my presentation. So the content, introduction, some review of the documents of regional level. I mean, especially the integrated territorial strategy for development of the southeastern region for the period 2001-2007. Some information about the very specific and very interesting study. This is the plan for protection and management of ancient town of Nessebar. Many details are were shown in previous presentation, but this one scientific study, which is very useful and interesting for preparing the documents, the managing documents for the next planning region period. Nessebar has a specific program for environmental protection of the municipality for the period 2001 and 2007. And these two plans together are covering the whole ideas and principles of Mo.Na projects. And it is, as I said, already said, it is very good to have it in preparing the plan for integrated development of municipalities. And I will stress some, especially for the vision, goals, priorities, and measure part of this plan. So, what are my main factors for development? Of course, factors for the development of the municipalities are unique cultural and historical heritage from different eras and civilizations. Many things were said before. The old town is included in the UNESCO list. Rich cultural calendar. This is very important because Nasseba is not a museum, is not only a preserved area. It is a living town with very well developed tourist industry. Rich biodiversity, 5 protected areas, 5 protected areas, and 3 natural landmarks in Natura 2000. Now, the previous presentations show us how many interesting actions have been done for in this field. Many main tourist destination, good transport accessibility for tourists from all over the world and the country by land, air, and water, and very important too that Nasseba is very close to the regional center of Burgas, the largest seaside resort in Bulgaria. Opportunities for choosing an appropriate strategy for achieve the goals are, after our study, and you will see in some details more, the development of the wine sector in the region, existence of large areas for a forest in the municipality, promotion of local holidays and festivals. This is one very interesting and very special activity connected to monuments and natures and the living city. Use of solar energy, construction of an industrial and logistics park in the area, and development of alternative tourism in protected areas and territories, and the interest of health and recreation tourism. Development of cross-border cooperation in tourism, especially between the regions of the countries in the Baltic Sea basin, and stimulating the development of small and medium business in tourism and in municipality. So here I show you the framework of planning framework on the regional level. This is the integrated territorial strategy for the development of southeastern region for the period 2001-2007. And here you see the priorities which are included in this framework strategy. This is tourism, again, sustainable forms of tourism, multifunctional agriculture, preservation, development, and promotion of cultural heritage, because it exists, but it has to be used and preserved in the nowadays development, conservation of natural resources, climate change, biodiversity, habitats, and landscapes, and better digital accessibility and connectivity. We will see how this framework of priorities are included in the plan of Nasseba. Then a few words about this very specific scientific study or the plan for protection and management of the old town of Nasseba, the strategic guidelines for conservation, use and management are improving legal protection, improving research activities, conservation policy guidelines, promotion of value, development of urban functional systems, development of cultural tourism, structural development, creating maps and register of cultural values, and improving management. Few words for the environmental protection program, this environmental strategy for the period 2001-2007. Here you see the main goals. I want to stress on the vision and general strategic goal of this document. The municipality of Nasseba is an attractive place for recreation and tourism, a preserved tourist destination on the Black Sea coast with a preserved clean environment, rich cultural and historical traditions, good economic growth, and high the standard of living in the local population, And general strategic goal is on this direction. Is not necessary to read again this direction. So the parts of this plan for integrated development of the municipality. First part is to describe the situation in the municipality and outline the trends of its development until 2007. On the basis of this situation, current situation, and trends for development, and the synthetic SWOT analysis, we had the second strategic part. I will stop for it a little bit later. Then we have one specific, very, very important and very specific part of the document, the communication strategy. You see, this is really very important because it contains work with stakeholders from one side and communication with the people, because this plan will will solve a lot of measures and develop concrete projects, which has to be consulted with the people in the municipality before approving and before starting their realization. Which are the identification of the priority areas for impact in compliance with the principle of unity of socio-economic and spatial planning. This is another very important approach and very important thing, because we have to think about municipal development in the same way how we think on the principles of Mo.Na. We have monuments and nature, and here we have socio-economic development and spatial planning. Spatial planning is how to combine the ideas of social economic development with the planning of the territory. Where is the nature? Where is the Mo.Na monuments? Further, we have the program for implementation of the plan. Here we have some interesting ideas to make zoning on the territory, and the old city is one of those priority zones for realization of the project. Another part is the measures to limit climate change and to adapt the changes that have already taken place. Okay, this is connected again with the global, European, and national principles for to be decided on the local level, and national necessary actions and indicators for monitoring and evaluation of the plan. This is the last part of the document. So here we have I want to show you the results of our work, the formulation of the vision, main strategic goals, and strategic priorities for development in the next 7 years. You see, I mentioned here in the visualization of the document that in the vision we have sustainable tourism and preserved nature environment. This is one of the vision for development. Is the first strategic objective, which is increasing the competitiveness of the municipality as an attractive place for tourism and development of business initiatives. You see, again, this the main activity in economic part of the plan is attractive place for tourism. In another strategic objective too is improving the environment and tourist attractions without damage the nature. The third strategic goal is development of human potentials and environment for social activities according to the specificity of the municipalities. This is, of course, it is stressed on the old Nessebar monuments and nature. And the fourth strategic objective is preservation and effective use of the cultural and historical heritage with competitive tourist advantages outside the inside. I don't know. Okay, the priorities, we will see all of these priorities and measures. First priority is implementation of innovative approaches for development of the economy based on tourism and efficient use of municipal property. Here we have the measures. Some of the measures, some of the projects I saw that in previous presentations that are already in implementation, in preparing, and in the program for implementation of this project, you will see the concrete projects, investment, and soft measures, education, festivals, and many other initiatives. For the second priority, we have construction and modernization of technical infrastructure. Of course, this is very important and very specific because infrastructure, today's infrastructure, have to be developed without damaging the monuments and the traditional environment. Next priority connected to education, to young people, to special measures for teaching them on the principles of Mo.Na project, if you want to say, and for everything which I want to implement in our management of the city in the next years. Then we have a fourth priority, a new approach to cultural heritage and municipality of Nasseba, a measure for its preservation, use and management. The measures are connected to different activities, including having in mind, of course, that monuments are not in museum, but they are in life city and have to be preserved together with the life, modern life nowadays. So good governance is the last fifth priority. Everything what we want to happen in the next year could be implemented in the framework of good governance together with the stakeholders and citizens in the town. So I'm going to finish because the time is limited. All these next slides, I saw some of them, or they were presented in the video and in the previous presentations. So you will have this, and if you have any specific questions, I could answer. Oh, this set ideas and some drawings here. This is one of the very important issues in the town nowadays. From one side, we have monuments, we have the old architecture. All these houses are part of cultural monuments. The same in the same time, we have a living. They are alive. We have tourism, and how to explore this with all these things which are connected to the tourist interests, not to damage the houses. This is very important issue, and in preparing the activities in the next period. Another important thing is when we build new houses, new architecture, how it is connected to cultural monuments. This is one quite good example of a modern architecture in the old town. Together with the activities today, Aqua Park in Nessebar, you know, it is not in the old town, but it is another important attraction for tourists nowadays. Some more photos with explanation. This is very interesting structure. You have to see the structure of the old town, how it is functioning in today, and how it preserves the historical development. This is what I said, social, economic, and spatial planning together. This is one historical, very interesting historical house, the Captain House, which now is very interesting, very visited restaurant, very close to the sea and fishery activities, and it is one good solution and one of the symbols of Nasseba for the tourists which are coming to visit the town. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Momov, for your another interesting presentation. If there are any questions from the partners. Okay, that means maybe you are very clear and extensive.
No, I'm sure that I'm not very clear. It is a very interesting, how to say, to share these specific things, but this is important for management and for planning in the future. Very important. And I'm so happy because we had a chance, the team which work on the plan for the next year in December, we had a chance to share or to study from Mo.Na projects from ideas of Mo.Na projects in very practical way to put the measures, priorities, and concrete projects for the next years. And this is a chance for the municipality and chance for the citizens and for the tourists which are coming to see Nasseba. Thank you.
Thank you very much again. As we mentioned earlier, the municipality of Nasseba does not remain indifferent to the condition of any of its monuments. So with the following video, we would like to present you another success of the municipality of Nasseba in attracting funding for another church to come to a new life again, St. John Liturgetus, the church where the picturesque style reached its highest development. So you can enjoy now the video. After that, we have two more presentations. So be patient, please.
Несебър – единственият български град, включен в списъка на световното културно наследство към ЮНЕСКО. Един от най-старите градове в Европа на повече от 3000 години, разположен на скалист полуостров на брега на Черно море. Град, в който хилядолетната история те обгръща от всякъде и където многобройни цивилизации са оставили материални следи в единно хомогенно цяло, което хармонично се вписва в природата. Стария Несебър, почти всяка уличка, по която тръгнеш, ще те отведе до храма. Легендата разказва, че църквите тук са били над 40, съградени с вяра и преклонение пред Бога, с помощта на Божията светлина и благословия. В продължение на хиляди години градът е бил забележително духовно огнище на християнската култура. До нашия дни са останали 15 храма и повечето от тях вече са реставрирани и достъпни за посетители, благодарение на спечелените от общината европейски проекти и с помощта на фондация Левентис. Сега още една църква възкръсва за нов живот с помощта на правителството на САЩ и Американското посолство в България. Свети Йоан Алитургетус. Светът отдавна е оценил приноса на Несебър за световното културно наследство и затова градът на ЮНЕСКО се радва на приятелството на дипломати от цял свят, които идват да се преживеят красотата, симбиоза от хилядолетна история, митове и легенди. Нейно превъзходителство посланник Марселис беше посрещната пред крепостната стена на Стария град от кмета на Несебър Николай Димитров. Посланник Рис като истински турист извървя новия туристически маршрут, наречен Духовен път. Той включва всички реставрирани църкви в Несебър, които са новите духовни пространства на града-държава. Триизмерната релефна карта, която посреща гостите на града на ЮНЕСКО пред Археологическия музей, първа приковава вниманието. На нея се открояват 16-те най-важни туристически обекта, изобразени с скулптурни миниатюри. Нейно превъзходителство разгледа една от най-забележителните и добре запазени църкви в Несебър – Христос Пантократор, типичен представител на живописния стил в църковната архитектура.
Ние полагаме големи усилия за опазване на това наследство, защото нашата отговорност е двойна. Един път към държавата България, втори път към света, защото това е световна ценност.
Посланник Рис извървя пътя до реставрираната по проект Вяра в Несебър църква Свети Йоан Кръстител и разгледа експонираните в нея 4 големи несебърски икони, които са от фонда на музей Старинен Несебър. Не беше пропусната и църквата Свети Спас, която е характерна с простата архитектура и с богатата живописна украса. Стените отвътре са покрити с стенописи, които се нареждат сред най-добрите образци в България на храмовата живопис в периода 16-17 век. Посланик Марсилис прояви истински интерес към спасени стенописи от несебърски църкви, които са експонирани в храма Света Параскева, също реставриран по проекта Вяра в Несебър. Стенописите са автентично вписани в интериора на църквата. Те са принадлежали на две несебърски църкви. На разрушение през 1958 година храм Свети Георги Големи и църквата Свети Климент. Последва снимка за спомен пред старата митрополия, разположена на предполагаемия стар център на града. Базиликата е била част от резиденция на Несебърския митрополит. Най-посещаваната църква от туристи е Свети Стефан, или така наречената нова митрополия.
It's amazing that this place survived again.
Първоначално Божията обител е носила името на Богородица. Затова и тематично стенописите са свързани с живота на Божията майка. Изобразени са над 1000 фигури в 258 композиции. В този храм американският посланник Марсилис имаше неочаквана и приятна среща. Нейни сънародници, привлечени от духовната култура на този град.
Where are you from? The U.S. Yeah, so you're from next to Washington. Next to Washington. In Virginia. My home is Washington, D.C. Where else are you stopping?
The Star Trek is mostly
Bulgaria. Yes. Great. It's wonderful. Yes. Wonderful. Enjoy your trip.
Така постепенно духовният път стига до най-емблематичната и най-харизматична църква в Несебър – Свети Йоан Алитургетус или Свети Йоан Милосветен. От тази църква се открива невероятен изглед към Несебърския залив и тя първа е посрещала моряците от дългите пътешествия. Според легендата, духовната обител, строена през 14 век, не е била осветена и не се е използвала като храм. Съединените американски щати осигуряват финансиране за запазването и консервацията им на общо стойност $700,000. Средствата са осигурени чрез посланническия фонд за опазване на културното наследство. Най-голямото дарение е правено някога от Американското посолство в България извън сферата на сигурността. Американският посланик в България Марсилис, кметът на Несебър Николай Димитров и председателят на Българския национален комитет на иконност доцент Стефан Белишки дадоха символичен старт на реставрацията, която ще приключи за 3 години.
The ancient city of Nessebar is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and is an outstanding example of Bulgaria's rich cultural and historical heritage. For many, St. John's Church is the iconic image that people think of when they think of Nessebar, and that's why we thought that it was important to preserve and protect it. It is our honor to help preserve this beautiful church, this bit of heaven, for future generations, and as a reminder to Bulgarians of the important role they play in the world's religious and cultural history.
Аз искам да благодаря от името на целия град, на всички мои съграждани за жеста, който Неговото превъзходителство направи към нашия град. отпускайки средствата от посланническия фонд за реставрация на тази прекрасна църква и укрепителни мероприятия, която също ще бъде включена в този културен туристически продукт. Нашият град през лятото се посещава между 30 и 40 хиляди човека всеки ден. И ние сме горди, че благодарение на нейно превъзходителство хората ще успеят да видят и тази прекрасна църква.
След официалната церемония последва размяна на подаръци. Посланик Рис получи картина от кмета на Несебър Николай Димитров, на която е изобразена вятърната мелница, един от символите на древния град. Както и книга с историята на града, написана от Жана Чимбулева, създател на археологическия музей, и жената, чийто принос за включване на Несебър в списъка на световното културно наследство към ЮНЕСКО е безспорен факт. Храмът Свети Йоан Алитургетос бележи върховия етап в строителството на култови сгради през средновековието. Тук живописният стил е достигнал най-високото си развитие с различните орнаменти, образуващи многоцветни шевици по фасадите. Проектът за реставрацията на Свети Йоан Алитургетос предвижда съхраняване както на паметника в руинен вид, така и на декоративната украса на храма. Като първа крачка предстои стабилизиране на терена.
Както виждате, в момента състоянието на църквата е руинно. Тя е загубила една значителна част от оригиналните си елементи, но дори това, което е достигнало до нас, е толкова богато, носи толкова голяма информация, че се заслужава тя да бъде съхранена, а и е достатъчно на зрителя, на съвременния зрител да усети духа, пространството, декоративността, красотата, богатството на архитектурата, без да има нужда от някакви допълнителни реконструкции.
Проектът беше много важно да се спечели, защото всички знаем, че в тези години не всеки дава средства за култура, за реставрация, за археология. Благодарение на проекта, който съвместно разработихме с Българския комитет на ИКОН, с ръководител доцент Белишки, и бяхме одобрени от комисията, за да спечелим този проект от посланническия фонд на нейно превъзходителство, посланника на Съединените американски щати в България. Аз съм много щастлив, че след фондация Левенте, след всички други спомосъществователи, се вижда, че ние вървим в правия път. Тук искам да благодаря на нашите съграждани от Стария Несебър, които подкрепят общината във всички начинания и затвърждават името на Несебър в списъка на градовете световно културно наследство.
Несебър ще продължават да реставрират своите църкви, да ги превръщат в галерии и концертни зали, защото тук имат самочувствието на жители на световен град. Древна Месамбрия ще продължава да печели приятели от цял свят, ще им разкрива хилядолетната си история и култура сред ритъма на забързаното съвремие.
Thank you for your attention. Now I want to present you our next speaker, Ms. Sonia Niova, Chairman of the Board of the Burgas Regional Tourist Association, our long-term partner and experienced project manager with a demonstrated history of working in the management consulting industry since 1993, skilled in international project management, negotiation, sustainable development, business planning and innovation management. Welcome, Ms. Niova.
Thank you very much. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. So it's my pleasure to join this very useful and very informative webinar. Thank you very much to Nessebar Municipality and especially to the Directorate of European Projects in Nessebar Municipality. In fact, you have introduced me. I've been working in tourism area since the beginning of 90s, but I have started my job in tourism in Sunny Beach in the 1980s. So it's more than 30 years of work, and Nasseba is my favorite destination, tourism destination, although I've been working in Burgas region and Bulgarian tourism for many, many years. Thank you very much to the previous presenters. We have learned a lot and we have enriched our knowledge about natural and cultural tourism sites in Nessebar. And especially I'd like to thank to Ms. Salumidi for the very informative presentation concerning natural tourism resources in the area. In addition to her presentation, I'd like to say that some of our members, for example, the Tourism Development Council in the Nessebar Municipality has done some actions in terms of preserving the beaches and the underwater heritage of our Black Sea coast. For example, in 2019 and 2020, they have organized beach cleanup activities with school children, as well as some actions called Fishing for Litter, organizing the fishermen, especially in Nessebar Municipality, to fish their garbage and to bring it back to the beach. So although we are developing and we are focused on tourism development, tourism sector cares about the preservation of culture and nature in the environment. Now, I would like to present you just in brief my presentation about Nessebar Municipality, and the title is that tourism in Nessebar Municipality is sustainable, inclusive, and responsible. Most of the information has been already presented by previous presenter, architect Mo.Na, and the film you have just seen focuses on some of the information I would like to share with you. But first of all, I'd like to say that Nessebar Municipality is the largest tourist destination, not only on the Bulgarian Black Sea coast, but in Bulgaria as a whole. It was mentioned that the ancient city of Nessebar is included in the list of World Cultural Heritage Sites of UNESCO since 1983. Sunny Beach. This is the biggest and most popular Bulgarian seaside resort. And the territory of Nessebar Municipality has quite a diverse tourism supply. Of course, most important tourism resources are natural and cultural tourism resources. In addition to what has been already said, I would like to mention that some of the areas in Nessebar Municipality, like Nessebar, Obzor, and Sunny Beach Resort, have been declared by the Ministry of Health in Bulgaria as climatic seaside resorts of national importance. Other two areas, Kuzluka area and the town of Sveti Vlas, as well as Ravda, have been announced with a decree from the Ministry of Health as climatic seaside resorts of local importance. This is one of the natural resources that is underestimated or was underestimated in the previous years, because most importance and most value has been given to the sea, the sand, and the sun. Nowadays, with the COVID-19 pandemic, more people are looking for healthy tourism, and that's why I would like to stress that the climate in Nessebar municipality is unique, and it's quite favorable for people who have suffered COVID or who would like to be in a better, healthy environment for their holidays. Among them, worth noting is that Sveti Vlas Resort, which is located in the southeast foot of the Balkan Mountains, is in immediate proximity to the beach. And there is a specific microclimate of the area, which is a combination between the mountain and the sea climate. That's why it has a specific microclimate, which is quite efficient and has a powerful healing effect on bronchial asthma and chronic lung diseases. The next very important element of the natural tourist resources, this is the flora and the fauna of the area. I would like to stress again that the second largest European migration route, Via Pontica, passes along the Black Sea coast, and this determines the role of the district for preservation of the European populations of the white stork, honey buzzard, common buzzard, and many other species. All European birds of prey pass over here. Just some photos. I'm sorry. The sand, the sea. Sorry, just a little. And the nature are quite attractive in the area. This is an example that tourism in the area is developed in a sustainable way. This is the area where we have sea and mountain air, and just some good practices about sustainable use of tourism resources and preservation of environment. Architect Mulov has mentioned already that there is a management development plan of the ancient city of Nessebar, which was elaborated in 2011. And in addition to this, some of the tourism facilities in the area have started to introduce basic energy efficiency measures, like introducing renewable energy sources, solar and photovoltaic panels. Some of them have started to introduce the zero waste approach, and in hotels since I think 2007, some hotels have started to introduce the cleaner production approach, which was introduced by UNIDO. This means reduction of waste, using new energy sources, and some good practices preserving the environment. Another example of the sustainable development of tourism in the area, this is the development of tourism in Natura 2000 network, which is quite wide in Nessebar municipality. The unique combination of sea, lakes, mountains, and rivers, the exotic vegetation, and the diversity of animal and plant species, together with the traditions and authentic culture and customs, provide various opportunities for the development of tourism all the year round. Now I'd like to share some facts about the accommodation facilities in Nessebar municipality, and all the data that you see on this slide is based on the data published officially in the National Tourist Register of the Ministry of Tourism. According to this register, in total, 9,095 accommodation establishments are categorized in Burgas district as a whole, of which 55% are concentrated in Nessebar municipality. This makes the municipality the biggest provider of accommodation in tourism in the region, in Burgas district, and in the country as a whole. Resorts with national importance, defined by Decision 45 from 2005 of Council of Ministers, are Sunny Beach with 60,849 bed places, and Telenite with 7 accommodation establishments, 3.5 bed places. Of course, everyone knows that not all the bed places are categorized and are registered in the National Tourism Register, and the beds are much more, and no one can say what is the total number. Of course, there are areas where there is over construction, and this has to be managed very well in the next years, because over construction leads to some bad practices, and the impact on the environment and on the cultural monuments is quite negative. In Sunny Beach Resort, which is the biggest tourism resort in Bulgaria, it has 19% of all bed capacity of the country and 48% of the available bed capacity of Burgas district, which is quite, dangerous in terms of over construction and oversupply. These were just some of the facts about tourism accommodation in Nessebar municipality. Now, I would like to stress and to mention some of our requirements for future development of tourism in Nessebar municipality in terms of inclusive tourism. This type of tourism is comparatively new, but on the other hand, it has a big influence on the overall tourism development of the municipality and the country as a whole. And this has to be included in all the planning and programming documents in the next years, not only in Nessebar, I think, but worldwide. Why? Because all over the world, the aging population is increasing. People who use wheelchairs, children, people with temporary mobility limitations, people with prams, people with hearing or vision impairments, and their traveling companions. They have to be just about everyone. So, my appeal is to business owners. Take into consideration the entire traveling experience from the planning phase through to review of the whole operation. Think about travelers' experience at every stage. Put yourself in a variety of customers' shoes and pay attention to the details, because small things can make a huge difference. And my next slide is about responsible tourism. This tourism has to minimize the negative social, economic, and environmental impacts. It generates greater economic benefits for local people, not the big tour operators who bring hundreds and thousands of tourists and take all the benefits for themselves. And this tourism has to be focused on the well-being of the host communities. Some 20 years ago, I attended a forum in Marseille about fair tourism. So my appeal and my approach is that tourism has to be fair towards the local people, towards the host community, not just the big tour operators and the big sharks, as we call them. You have already seen these photos, but I'd like to stress your attention on the fact that Nessebar municipality is doing all their best in order to develop responsible tourism. And the video before my presentation showed this responsible approach of the local administration towards the cultural monuments. This is my final slide, and it's to all of us and all who would like to try to develop tourism in a sustainable way. Move your group or yourself greenly. Spend your money locally. Calculate and offset your carbon footprint. Choose green tour operators. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Inivo, for your participation. With the next presentation, I would like to tell you about the experience of the municipality in Nessebar in the valorization of its monuments. As we mentioned earlier, a few years ago we implemented the project Fate in Nessebar, through which were reconstructed, preserved and favorized the churches St. John the Baptist, St. Paraskevic and the space in front of the churches of St. Spas and St. Archangel Michael and Gabriel, as well as the beginning of the cultural and tourist road, the spiritual path. The preserved monuments for various ages represent the label of Nessebar and were the main cause for the 7th session of World Heritage Committee in Florence in 1983. The old town of Nessebar shall be included in the list of World Cultural Heritage Monuments as universal value. In the old Nessebar, known are over 30 churches, 15 of which can be seen today. The churches of Nessebar are the pearls of the medieval Black Sea architecture without an analog in Bulgaria. Once destructed, rebuilt, or sunk into oblivion, today they revive their celebrated glory. The Fate in Nessebar project rekindles their old times' glorious shine and once again opens the door of Nessebar's ancient temples to the curious sight of the people tempted by ancient times and history. This is why even today the old cobblestone streets are full of people. This is why among the narrow meandering alleys, majestic temples decorated in red and white stone pop up view, proudly preserving the glory of Nessebar for over 3,000 years now. For Fate is this mystical power which preserved and protected the cultural heritage of the ancient town in time. Now it's the complementary duties to preserve, protect, and show the generations to come the cultural richness of the town. For Nessebar belongs to the future and its spiritual path continues. The St. John the Baptist is the undisputed masterpiece of medieval church building and has no analog in Bulgaria. Latest archaeological researches indicated that the temple was built on the earlier one in 6th century with a basilica plan, but in 10th century was restructured to a cruciform one. It was built from crushed stone and mortar and has dimensions 14 by 10 meters. Around the windows and above the door can be noticed fragments of ornamented elements fabricated from bricks. The church was plastered and painted with frescoes. Preserved images are Donor's portrait, 14th century, located on the south wall, and the same with the image of Saint Marina, 17th century, located on the southwest column. The excellent acoustic of the church is a precondition for functioning as a camera performance hall. Together with the musical performances, the building is suitable for various poetic, theatrical, and other artistic events. The zone of the three-part altar is set as the most appropriate location for the performance stage. There is space provided for 30 spectators, as well as virtual exposition with informative and educational functions. One of the pearls of the medieval church building on Bulgaria Black Sea coast is the St. Paraskevic Church in Old Nessebar. In association with the Faith in Nessebar project, the small single-nave basilica was renovated, conserved, and socialized with the purpose of its use as a cultural and historical attraction. The project foresees the temple to be used as a cultural center with a diverse program, book presentations, readings, meetings related to the heritage of the town and history. In the evenings, there will be screenings of 3D animation, documentaries, and art projections related to the town's development and its place in the World Heritage. For these purposes, there will be a movable screen installed in the altar zone, and it will be pulled down when projections are held. With its rich cultural program, the center will attract people with various interests, architects, artists, historians, as well as local residents and tourists tempted by the cultural events. The church's most sacred place, the altar, remains with restricted access. Under the Faith in Nessebar project began the establishment of a cultural and historical route linking all temples in the old town. Part of this route is the street network Mo.Na and Ribarska, which we are reconstructed as our pilot action, part of the Mo.Na project, thus bringing the spiritual path to the St. Stephen Church. A 320-meter trace from the spiritual path has already been constructed. It starts from the St. John the Baptist Church and continues to the St. Paraskevic and St. Archangel Michael and Gabriel churches. The project opens the churches to visitors and turns them into artistic ateliers, galleries, and chamber halls appropriate for limited performances that will bring new life to the old Nessebar churches and will return the once glorious and majestic aura of the medieval Nessebar shrines. Similar cultural and tourist routes included in the context of the urban ambience are Wenzel 1000 years in 100 minutes and Vauban in Luxembourg, the Anniversary Road in London, Silver Wine Golden Prague in Prague, the Rose Road in Hildesheim. An example of a similar road in Bulgaria is the section of the cultural and tourist product Rhodope Holy Mountain crossing the urban area of the town of Asenovgrad. They call Nessebar the town of churches, Bulgaria and Ravenna, the pearl of orthodoxy, and it is not without a reason. This is why the guests of the ancient Nessebar are given a chance to walk its path through the centuries to become a part of its truly unique atmosphere and share the experience of the unusual meeting with the spirit of the ancient city-state. Now I suggest you to watch the promotional video clip created within the project Faith in Nessebar.
Yes.
The long week is lying heavily on my shoulders. The things are changing before my eyes. Memories of real staging, of memories of my dreams, days and nights of euphoria. And the stage. Yes, the stage. I would give anything for it. I just feel like myself on it. I'll live my real life there, burning and regenerating over and over again, to find out the cry of every female character in myself. to play the roles of all those individuals stretching hands through their lives. My life indeed. And I cannot stop living their lives. I just cannot help it. But it's all mine, this place here. I have been walking past millions of steps, thousands of ears, cultures, and people from all around the world. I can hear the whisper of Asian languages and foreign voices, and yet it's just me and Nasseba town. And it all looks more beautiful than it has ever been, resurrected to new life. It is my sacred place, where I find exactly what I need: peace and spiritual recharge. My name is Ludmila. My voice is my life. My life is opera.
The ancient churches in Nessebar are masterpieces of medieval architecture on the Black Sea coast and are unique to Bulgaria. Destroyed, reconstructed, or buried in oblivion, they are reviving their famous glory today. The spiritual faith in Nessebar regains the former splendor and majesty of the ancient temples in the Nasseba town. It opens their wooden gates for the inquisitive visitors and turns them into art studios, galleries, and chamber halls for specific performances that will inspire new life in the medieval holy places in Nessebar. Due to the project, the spiritual faith in Nessebar, the old churches in St. John the Baptist and St. Paraskevic, the Art of the Saints Past Church, the surrounding infrastructure and streets there have been restored, preserved, and socialized in the context of the urban environment. This is a unique cultural tourist route called the Spiritual Pathway. Only a 320 meters track is ready up to this present day. However, the idea is to connect all the 15 temples in one route in Old Nessebar. The purpose of the Spiritual Pathway is to provide a new perspective on the history of Nessebar town by tracing its spiritual development through centuries by means of the continuity between religions and beliefs, between cultures and values of the past to the present. Continuity, thanks to which the old stone cobble streets are full of visitors today, as Nessebar belongs to the world and the future, and undoubtedly its spiritual journey continues through time.
That was our last presentation and movie. Thank you so much for all our guests, speakers, and partners. Thank you for our leader partner, European Center of Byzantine and Post-Byzantine Monuments. Thank you. I wish you a pleasant weekend and happy Easter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Easter to you all.
Congratulations for all this great work that you have done. And this, all the presentations were very, very interesting, and we learned a lot about this famous Nessebar city, and we were all impressed about all this extensive work that you realize in terms of promoting this cultural heritage, not only in terms of archaeological material, but also in terms of music, gastronomy, and all these other aspects related to the presentation and the highlight of the city. Congratulations once more, and we are looking forward to visit Nessebar as soon as all these awful circumstances have created to all of us. I'm sure that next time we will visit it, we will be able to see and admire in person and in the best way we can to admire your work. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. You are always welcome in Nessebar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For us, Nessebar is αγαθή τύχη. Να ζούμε εδώ, σε αυτή την πανέμορφη πόλη, από την αρχαιότητα μέχρι σήμερα.
We envy you. We would like to be there. It's a really very, very important city, a very beautiful city, and we are very lucky to have you there being in charge of all these projects and initiatives in order to keep the character, the original character of the city, the atmosphere of the history of the city, and to work on such a professional way in order to promote this cultural character, which is very vivid in your case. Thank you very much again for everything you're doing. We are next to you in your next steps, and whenever you would like support or anything else we can do, please address your request to us, ask us, and we will be there in order to help you and offer our support in everything you are doing. Thank you again very, very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the support system.
Bye.
Thank you very much for everything.
Bye.
Great seeing you all. Goodbye.
Bye.